In Spain 2016, Max was learning the car while leading a Formula One race.
What a great debut.
Thank you very much, Christian.
What a week it has been for Max Verstappen.
And 10 years later,
to end the season and his 51st win as a world champion, one less than Michael Schumacher, who holds the record for the most wins with car number 1.
Formula One was still trying to learn him. For Formula One fans, there are race winners, and then there are drivers who slowly make the entire sport feel unfair. And over the last decade, nobody has done that better than Max. But strangely, Formula One slowly realized this guy was becoming something different. The reality of that, we have seen at Nürburgring 24-hour. But every legend has an origin story. There were 6 races that transformed Max into Formula One's ultimate problem. And strangely enough, the soundtrack of that entire era became 2 simple words.
Simple, lovely.
But to understand why those words matter so much, we need to go back to the beginning. To a teenager who had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. Imagine being 18 years old and promoted into one of the biggest teams in Formula One. And across the garage are world champions with years of experience.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. Of course, just being promoted to Red Bull and then jumping in, not really expecting anything, just trying to score good points.
Max realized something unbelievable might actually happen.
And then Sebastian Vettel ahead of Max Verstappen. Good start from Carlos Sainz. He's ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Round red, turn 3 we go. And it's Nico Rosberg and Hamilton's onto the grass. And Hamilton's had a massive crash. And he's crashed into his teammate. The 2 Mercedes come together as Hamilton tried to pass on the inside. And
Yeah, I was just learning all the way. And then I had Kimi, I think, like 30 laps behind me, trying to pass me, so...
Kimi was one of Formula One's calmest and most experienced drivers, and lap after lap, he simply couldn't force the teenager into a mistake. The Red Bull was faster through high-speed corners, but the Ferrari had better traction out of slower corners. One small mistake on corner exit, and Kimi would get DRS immediately. Max later admitted he only started believing he could actually win with about 5 laps to go. Then finally, the checkered flag.
And he's the youngest driver ever to win a Formula One World Championship Grand Prix. And at the tender age of 18, he can go out and party like he's never partied before.
Yes! Yes!
Unbelievable, Max. Unbelievable. Max Verstappen, you are a race winner. Fantastic. What a great debut.
Formula One had discovered a teenager who could survive pressure. But 10 years later, the conversation around him had completely changed. Because by now, Max looked like a complete racing phenomenon, and maybe nothing captured that better than the Nürburgring, a place where even experienced GT drivers spend years learning how to survive. And when Max arrived, many believed Formula One drivers couldn't simply jump into a GT3 car and beat endurance specialists who had spent years mastering those machines. But then the data started emerging. On pure pace, Max was over a minute faster than the factory professionals across equivalent stints. He set the fastest lap of every driver inside the windward Mercedes lineup. But strangely, the lap times weren't even the most shocking part. It was how he drove. There's footage of Max overtaking Jesse Krohn with 2 wheels on wet grass.
On the outside of the car you're overtaking and just skinching the grass, putting a wheel on the grass. It's a percentage game.
That is.
Yeah.
Then came the 2 a.m. battle with Maro Engel through heavy traffic. Just instinct. The result barely mattered. But nobody remembers that. Max's response was simple. We will be back, mate. Max no longer sounds like someone completely obsessed with staying inside the Formula One bubble. But long before Nürburgring, Formula One had already seen flashes of these instincts, especially in the rain. Because Brazil 2016 was the moment the sport discovered something truly dangerous. Every legendary driver has that one race where people suddenly stop debating talent and just stare in disbelief. For Max, it was 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix. In heavy rain, drivers are constantly searching for grip off the normal racing line. The dry line becomes polished and slippery like ice. So while most drivers stayed cautious, Max was aggressively exploring different parts of the circuit, looking for traction. And then came the moment. Max hits standing water on the main straight. The rear of the car snaps violently. The wall is right there, but somehow he catches it.
Okay, well held, Max. Well held. Yeah, I think you want to do higher there.
And by the end of the race, he dragged the car back onto the podium. It felt supernatural. Max was finding overtakes in places where nobody else even attempted them. Commentators immediately compared the performance to legendary wet weather drives from drivers like Ayrton Senna and Michael Schumacher. Brazil proved Max could control chaos. But becoming world champion would require something far more difficult: patience. By 2021, Max was no longer the reckless teenager people called Mad Max. Now he had something much more dangerous, and nowhere was that clearer than the 2021 Emilia Grand Prix. One of my favorite tracks. You have to be very patient. You cannot afford to make mistakes. And that one word, patience, explains everything about the new Max. This was a driver beginning to understand how championships are really won. For years, Formula One had belonged to Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, and inside the paddock, many still believed Max was too aggressive to survive a full championship fight without mistakes. The conditions at Imola were horrible. Wet track, drying line. These conditions are a nightmare for engineers. Pit too early for slick tires, and the car slides everywhere. Pit too late, and you lose massive time. Drivers are basically balancing on the edge between grip and disaster every lap. He knew when not to attack.
Hamilton in battle. It is Hamilton and Verstappen. Verstappen and Hamilton wheel to wheel going into the field of the temporal chicane. Hamilton is forced wide and he's lost a little bit of bodywork as well. Max Verstappen, for the first time in his career, takes victory in Italy.
After the race, GP came on the radio with a subtle line that perfectly captured Max's evolution.
It's great work. There you go. It's not always all about a Saturday.
Yes! Well, that was tricky out there, but great job, guys. You managed that really well. Thank you.
Imola 2021 was probably the first time the Formula One paddock realized this wasn't just a fast driver anymore. This was a complete driver. And over the next few months, Formula One descended into chaos because now this was a war. Lewis versus Max, a 7-time world champion against the driver trying to take the throne. And week after week, the rivalry kept escalating. Silverstone, Monza, Jeddah, every race felt personal. Some believed Hamilton's experience would eventually break Max. Others believed Max represented the sport's new generation. And through all the pressure, Max kept fighting. The teenager from 2016 who attacked every corner with pure instinct had evolved into a driver who could handle an entire season of pressure. And finally, after one of the most controversial and dramatic title fights Formula One had ever seen, it all came down to one final lap, the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
One lap of racing to decide the championship. Hamilton has the advantage. Verstappen has the faster, fresher tyres. Down into turn 5 is Verstappen. Far enough back, he's going to make the lunge down the inside. Hamilton sees it coming. It's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race. In 2021, Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, is champion of the world. Oh my Lord, Max! Oh my God! Yes! Oh my God!
That moment didn't just crown a new champion. It marked the beginning of a completely new era in Formula One. Sometimes the scariest victories are not dominant ones. They are the races you had absolutely no right to win. That was 2022 Hungarian Grand Prix.
I think I had a very bad qualifying at start like P10. Yeah, I had a problem. Starting P10 and winning the race was definitely something that I didn't expect, especially around there because it's hard to pass.
And then, mid-race, he spins. A full 360-degree spin. And this is the moment rival teams thought the race was finally over. Ferrari had the faster qualifying pace that weekend. Track position mattered enormously at Hungary. Yet somehow, Max still came back.
Max Verstappen, from 10th on the grid, comes home to win the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah, we just had the right calls, right undercuts, the right tires on the car all the time.
Red Bull completely understood the tire warm-up window that afternoon. While other teams struggled to switch the tires on consistently, Max could attack almost immediately after pit stops. That difference becomes massive over a race distance. Hungary 2022 proved something terrifying to the rest of Formula One. Even when Max makes mistakes, he can still beat you.
You know what that is? Simply lovely.
In Spain 2016, Max Verstappen was learning the car while leading a Formula One race. And 8 years later, Formula One was still trying to learn from him. Proof of it we have seen at Nürburgring. Max isn't just chasing victories anymore. he's chasing the purest form of racing itself. And if you want more stories about the moments, rivalries, and drivers shaping modern motorsport, subscribe to We Are Racing, because the next era of racing is already beginning.